So as we've seen, the conditions were perhaps ripe for someone like Martin Luther to come along and perhaps push the church towards some type of reformation. And that's quite notable that Luther himself was hoping to reform the church rather than to reform Christianity. That is, he didn't intend to leave the Catholic Church and start some other kind of church, but rather could not help but bring to the attention of the originally the church and the academic community that there were just things that the contemporary church was doing that just seemed at odds with the words of the Bible. And he famously posted his 95 Theses on the door of the Wittenberg church, where he made these statements about the various different issues that he felt were problematic. They were written in Latin, which is to say that most people wouldn't be able to read at all, let alone to read Latin. And so this was not intended for the general audience, but rather for those who were more educated, that they would be able to read those. And his hope was that he could have some kind of a debate that might help to reform the church. The church itself did not take kindly to the critique and ultimately demanded that he recant. And he was eventually put on trial at the Diet of Worms. That's the image at the top of this screen. And Luther just searched his soul and could not in good conscience recant the things that he believed so firmly in, and as a result he was excommunicated. Keep in mind that the implications of this from the medieval Catholic Church's perspective is that since he was no longer a member in good standing of the Catholic Church, that he would no longer be able to receive any of the sacraments, he wouldn't be able to have a proper Christian burial, and he would not be eligible for entry into heaven, nor even purgatory where his sins might be purged. Presumably that left hell. So that was, what was he going to do other than start a new church, which would be run according to what he believed were the proper principles. And the key issue here was, of course, this relationship between faith and works. Is that Luther said that one is saved by faith, not by works, following Paul here, and therefore there was no need to have the church serve as an intermediary between God and the faithful, rather that each individual person could establish that relationship directly with God and be saved through their faith and not through the different things that they did, either in terms of just sort of the good deeds, understanding of works, or the deeds that the church demanded. And so we have him being the first of a number of people who will subsequently pull themselves out of the authority of the Catholic Church, which we've seen is not only claiming this kind of religious authority, but also was very strong in the secular realm as well. And so a number of different countries produce different forms of Protestant Christianity. And when we look at the world today, that there are literally hundreds of kinds of Protestant Christianity. And the reason for that is that there is no central authority, unlike the Catholic Church, which a single church claims authority for all Catholics the world over. That in the Protestant tradition, the clergy are not priests, and that they are really pastors, or other words you could choose to use instead, but pastors in the sense that the community they serve is like a flock, and they are just the leaders of that community, much the way that a rabbi is the leader of a Jewish community, but not a priest in the sense that there was back when there was a temple in biblical times. And so we enter into a very different world, and At this point now, we've seen three major branches of Christianity: the Eastern Orthodox, the Catholic, and the Protestants. And in the next lecture, we will consider some contemporary issues to think about.